Hey everyone, this is Tinkering with B-Hav, and I'm B-Hav. Today I'm going to be putting together this 242C that I got earlier in the summer, and I took it all apart, and I broke a part on it, so I had to order a part and wait for that to come in. And I've got all the parts, I've got everything cleaned up and ready to put back together, and that's what I'm going to be doing today. That's what I'm going to show you is I'm going to put this together and get it running. I'm going camping this coming weekend in my buddy's property down in southern Missouri, and I wanted to take this one with me. So I'm going to put it together and get it running and show you how I do that. All right, well, the first thing I want to do is tell you a little bit about this lantern. It is a September of 1944. I don't know if you can see that. I think you can there. 1944, and it's September. And I looked this one up in the Coleman book that I have, and that's accurate. The couple of things that are a little not different about this lantern, but one thing is this is the frame rest, and it is supposed to have a model number stamped right here, but it doesn't. It said this year they stamped the model 220C on there, and it doesn't, or not 220, excuse me, 242C, and it doesn't have it on there. So I don't know why that is, but this is the correct frame rest for this, but it doesn't have a model number stamped on it. So I thought that was a little odd, but anyway, I'm gonna still use it, so I don't care about that. I liked the look of this lantern. If you look, it's a brass fount, and it's got a steel bottom on it, but the fount itself, the walls and stuff are brass, and it's painted green. And I like the look of it. You can see the brass. If you looked, I kind of polished it a little bit just so that it shined. I'm not going to paint this one. I took it all apart because I want to make sure it's a good runner, so I cleaned the inside of the tank out, cleaned the check valve out, put a new cap seal on, and I want to make sure it's in really good shape and it runs really good because this is going to be one that I use every time I go camping. It's not going to be the prettiest lantern, but it's going to have character because they call it patina. I like the look of it with all the paint missing and everything. It's just, this is how I got it. I just cleaned it. I didn't really try to restore it, but it's going to be a good runner and everything's going to work really good on it. So the first thing I need to do, or the first thing I'm going to do, is I'm going to put the check valve back in here. Okay, and I use my handy dandy check valve removal tool, which I've already got it on there. It doesn't take any kind of seal. And what this does is this keeps the pressure from coming back out of the tank once you pump it in. There's a little ball in there, check ball, that seals when there's pressure in the tank, and it won't let pressure come out of the tank through here. So I put this down in the hole and thread it down in there as far as it'll go by hand. Okay, and then I'll get my 5/8 wrench. I do believe it's 5/8. Yep. And I will crank it down in there until it's tight. I had further to go than I thought. I thought I had it down in. Guess I didn't. There we go. Now it's snugged. So there we go. Snugged up. So then I got to take my 3/8 wrench here. We'll loosen this little nut, and then that threaded rod will thread out of it like that, and then that comes out. And now my check valve is installed in there. That's a really handy tool to have if you're going to take lanterns apart and get them working, because a lot of times that check valve gets some varnish built up in there from old fuel sitting in it, and that check valve, the ball doesn't move, and then it won't work. So it's good to take them out, and it's really hard to do without that tool because sometimes they're really not corroded in there, but varnished in, and you put a big screwdriver in there and it ends up stripping it out. So it's better to just spend the money. I probably spent about $85 on this. It was a guy on eBay made them. I didn't opt for one of the Chinese ones that's pre-made. I found a guy that actually makes them himself. He does all the machining and everything himself and makes them. I'm really happy with this. I don't have his name offhand. I've had it for a couple years, so I don't remember. But if you look on eBay, you can find some that are made in the USA by somebody here, and they just sell them. So after that, we're ready to put the valve stem in. If you look, I have all my parts in a box. Whenever I take a lantern apart, I put all the parts in a box. That way they're all in one place and I won't misplace or lose anything. So now I will put the stem in, okay, and that screws in down into the check valve, and that point seals down in there. So we'll put that in. You can hear the Blues game on in the background here. I'm watching that. It's their second game of the season. They did not look very good their first game. If you're an NHL fan, the Blues did not look good at all. So anyway, so I'm going to thread that in. and it's ready. So now I'll do the pump. Now I have to put the pump back together. So I took it all apart so that I can clean it up, and then I'm soaking the leather in some neat's foot oil, and I have that over here. So parts of the pump are okay. Honestly, I had to pause the video there to go and look at a pump that I had to make sure I put it together in the right order, because I took this one apart probably 2 months ago and it's been sitting and I haven't put one together in a while. I just wanted to make sure I did it right. Didn't want to guess. And so now I'll do it right. So the parts are, you have your stem, you have the cap, okay, you have a spring. This one has two little nuts. I don't know if you can see them, they're right there, two little nuts. You have a big washer, a square washer, and a little, I guess you would call it a spacer, so that the leather in the pump cup doesn't get crushed. So the order it goes together, you have your stem like this. First thing you do always is you put on the cap, okay, and then you put the spring on. That's always the first two things, just like that. Then this one, you take one of the nuts, and it's got a flat side and a rounded side. And you want the flat side facing out, so the washer will sit on it flat. So I put that on, you screw it all the way down as far as it'll go, like that. Then you take the big round flat washer and you put it on like that. Then you take the little spacer and you put it on. So it's just like that. If you can see that order, okay, so it looks like that. So now I have to set it down for a second. And so this is what I use. It's pure neat's foot oil. I ordered it off of eBay, and it came in or not eBay, I ordered it off Amazon, and it came in a plastic jug, but I put it in this little mason jar. And the way I do it is I got this little piece of wire, and whenever I'm soaking a leather cup, I just put it on that wire and I set it down in there. So now I can take the leather pump cup off. I think it was the first one. Yep, it's not that one. It was this one. Okay, so there's my leather pump cup, and it is all soaked up in oil. So I'll set it down here and put this one back on. That's probably been soaking long enough, but it won't hurt it to soak it down in there, because neat's foot oil is a leather conditioning oil, and it'll just make it nice and soft and supple. And I've brought back many pump cups that were really dry and not in good shape, but I just soak it for a few days in the neat's foot oil, and comes right back. So anyway, so then you take the leather pump cup like this and you set it down on there just like that. Okay, then this one gets the square washer. It's got some, like, one side is rough. It's almost like when they stamped it out, it's almost got like a little sharp edge on one side. You want that to go down so it'll bite into the leather and hold it. Okay, so I put that on there, and then I put the other nut on to hold it all together. And that a little spacer in there is the same thickness as that leather. Okay, and that, so that'll keep it from crushing the leather. That way the leather is loose on there and it can move side to side and seal up inside of there. So I'll just use some needle nose pliers. I'll grab a hold of that nut and just tighten it up. There we go. What's going on? Okay, it's giving me trouble starting. Doesn't want to start down on there. Huh. Wonder what's going on with that. That's interesting. All right, I'm going to pause it and figure out what's going on, and I'll tell you about it after I figure it out. Something's not right here. All right, well, all I had to do was I flipped the nut over. I think the threads on one side of the nut just weren't biting enough, so I flipped it over. So that's all I did. So it is definitely tight now, like that. And then the leather, if you look, it is still loose on there. So that's ready to go in. So if you look, the stem down in there goes down in the middle of that pipe. Just kind of finagle it in there just like that. Okay, and then there's screw holes on the cap. That there's screw holes on here. You just line those up like that. Then I've got these two tiny little brass screws, and they just screw down in there. Okay. I guess I'll put the bottom one in first because the top one, or I couldn't get the bottom one to line up. There we go. All right. That took way longer than it should have. So now I'll tighten these up. Okay, there's that. Okay. So there. So now the pump is installed, and I can loosen it up, and it's pushing pressure in there. I can hold these two. Let's double check. I don't know if you heard that, but there was pressure in there. So the pump is working. So I'll show you this is the fuel cap. I put a brand new seal in it. I don't know how well you can see it in there, but there's a brand new seal. And this one's all knurled up and messed up from somebody using pliers on it and stuff. But that's okay because I like the character of this lantern. It's definitely been used quite a bit. This lantern has made a lot of light in its day. So I'm going to put that cap on there. So that's good. That's there. All right. So the tank is now ready for the valve. Now let me show you. The valve is where I accidentally broke a piece on it, and I'll show you that. I think I might have in the last video, but I'll show it to you again just to see. So when I was taking it apart, this is the tip cleaning lever, and if you look inside of there, it snapped because I, dumb self, thought, oh, well, I can just force it because I just sprayed stuff on it. Now I'll just break it loose. So I put a pair of pliers on here, and I went to try to turn the tip cleaner, and it just snapped off in there. So that was a little bit of a pain to get it out of. It screws into here, okay, and there's a part in there that moves the eccentric block, and I'll show you all that. It screws into there, and I ended up breaking it, so I had to get a new one. And this is the new one, nice shiny brass one. It's got a new seal on it, and it's all brand new, so it fits right in there just like it's supposed to. So I have to put this valve together. One of the things I already did was I put this stem on here. This is the fuel pickup tube, and it's all been cleaned up, and I made sure that the spring was sprung out. Sometimes there's a spring in here, and it will be compressed because it's been shut for so long, and it doesn't flex as much. So you just have to stretch that spring out a little bit and put it back in there, and then it's got the right amount of tension on it. Because in here, there's a little a metering rod, I guess you would say, that pokes out the hole in the bottom, and that changes the amount of fuel that flows up through here. So anyway, all right, so I'm going to put this together. It's got a few other parts to it, and I'll show you them. This is the valve stem. This is the eccentric block, is what they call it. And if you look at it, it's got some little notches and stuff in it. Well, this lever hooks onto there, and the eccentric block moves up and down in here. One thing I noticed on this lantern too, as I was taking it apart and test fitting some things, is the eccentric block was catching inside of here. It was like it wasn't real smooth, and you want it to be smooth because you don't want to have it catch and you get a little piece of brass in there that comes off or something and clogs something up. So anyway, so I took a little bitty jeweler's file, and you can see where it's shiny. I had to do just a little bit of filing on here so that the eccentric block moved up and down inside of this valve easily. So that's what I did. So if you look, that little notch points towards this opening when you put it down in, and that's square opening there. So it just fits right down in there, just like that. And then that little lever with a bend in it fits into the eccentric block, and as you turn it, that's what moves it up and down. So we'll put that in there, start to wind it in, and if you look, I'll turn it now, and you can see as I turn this, that eccentric block moves up and down. See that? Well, that moves the tip cleaner inside the generator up and down, so it takes a little bitty fine wire, and I'll show you that, pokes it through the orifice hole in the top of the generator, make sure there's no carbon buildup in it, and that cleans it. So that's what this does. All right, so I'm going to get my handy dandy 3/8 wrench. I think it's an 8. Is that an 8? No, that's a 3/8. Nope, it's an 8. I'm sorry, my mistake. That's an 8 millimeter. At least that's the one that I found that fits it. So I put an 8mm on there, and we're going to tighten it up pretty good so that it seals. We don't want any fuel leaks out of there, but we still want to be able to turn it. There we go, just like that. Okay, so there's my tip cleaning lever is ready to go. Leave it pointed up. Now, I'll show you a little bit about this valve. One of the things I did with the valve wheel is I had to put a new graphite seal on it. So I had to take it all apart, and there's several parts to this. And if you look, that little shiny part is graphite, and that's what seals around this stem and keeps fuel from leaking out past this nut. And the one that was in there was very dried, and it was cracked, and when I took it apart, there was little pieces of it fell out, so it was time to be replaced. And you shouldn't have to replace those very often at all. But when I'm doing something like this, I want this to last. I don't ever want to have to mess with it again. So I always put a new seal in. For $2 or $3. It's worth the money to me. Okay, so we're going to put this down inside of here. And I'm going to thread this in because this threads down in there until it stops. I'll thread it in there until it stops. Like that, okay? Then we will thread the nut onto here, and after I thread this down on here all the way, it's going to push that seal down inside of this housing, okay? Not that one. It is a 9/16. So I have my 9/16. No, it isn't. It's a 1/2 inch. My mistake. Man, you can tell it's been a while because I don't know the wrench sizes off the top of my head. So I'm just going to screw this down on here. Okay. And that's, I can turn it, but I can tell that it's a little tight. So that's good. I'll probably snug it up just a little bit more once I get it on the lantern. All right, so this is ready to install in the fount. One thing you got to do is you got to make sure when you put it in, you get it clocked right. And what I mean by clocked right is, which way does that valve point? It's either going to point this way up top, or it's going to point this way. So I'm going to look at one of my other ones just to make sure I get it clocked right. One I know is clocked right. And here's one right here. It doesn't have a green fount, but it's still the same lantern. So if you're looking at it, the pump is on the left, and the fuel cap's on the right. So I want to make sure when I clock it that it's set in the same way so that the valve wheel is going to point out that way. So the pump will be on the left. Now, not everybody does this. I like to put a little thread locker on here. I put red Loctite on there. Originally, there was shellac, was what was on there, and Coleman used it. And you can still buy the exact same brand, but it's a little pricey. And I find that the thread locker works just as well. I've never had one that I restored leak out of that point. So let me find my thread locker here. I just got this little drawer set over here, and I put everything in there. Now I don't remember where I put everything. I guess I didn't. Oh, there it is. Okay, so I did put it in there. Anyway, here we go. I might edit that out. All right, but I got my red thread locker. That's just Loctite red because red's permanent, so I don't ever want to take this out again. Okay, so what I'll do is, it doesn't take much, is I take that off, and these are the threads right here on the valve that you're just going to put a little on there. I'm just going to put a drop or two on there like that, and it'll spread around as I tighten it in there. All right, so here we go. This should never ever come out of here again, hopefully. So we're going to thread it down in. I need to get it all the way around one more time. I got to go put it in my vise, pardon me. All right, so let me explain to you a little bit about what happened there. When I first started repairing Coleman lanterns, I made this vise right here, okay? And I made it for the lanterns that I had. There's little inserts here that grip the lantern, so you can put stuff in there and put a wrench on it and turn it. Well, I did not have a 242 when I made it. So I have one for a 200A. I have one for a Sears size lantern. I can't remember the size, but it's a little bigger. I think you could also work for a turd lantern, one of the brown ones. And then I have a size for a 220 or 228. And that's what I got. So I need to make one for a 242 size. If you look, this is for a 200A, and it doesn't get tight. So I can't leave it here and have it locked in and then use a wrench to turn it. So I use my vise, and I take the valve wheel and I put it down in the vise and I spin the tank. Once the thread locker gets on there, it doesn't take it very long to make it really hard to turn. So that's why I kind of ran away from the thing, because I'm like, oh crap, I thought I could turn it all the way and I couldn't. So I had to use my vise to get it in the right place. But with all that said, there you go. That's clocked correctly. It is pointing in the right direction. It's got the pump on the left here. Okay. So that's in. Now that's installed. I should never ever have to take that out. So next, we're going to put the frame rest on here, or the collar, some people call it. So we got to put that through there. We got to flex it a little bit to go around the nut. And now we'll make it round again. Just like that. Okay, so that's on there. So now I'm going to put the generator in. Okay, and this is a generator. It's got the little gas orifice at the top. It's got a flare nut at the bottom, and inside of here there is the pricker. Okay, and I took this out, and it was all carboned up, and I steel wooled it off and got it nice and clean. And if you look, it's hard to see it, but at the very, very tip of that, there's a little bitty thin wire right up here, and that pokes through that hole. Okay, so we'll put that. I also put new packing in the generator. So packing is just basically, it's a cardboard tube. It looks like this. And this is the old one. And you can see how black it is at the top. That's all carboned up because it's had fuel run through it quite a bit. So you can buy these tubes brand new, and they're all white, and they're like $1 a piece. So I have several, and I just put new packing in here. I cleaned the inside of the tube out really good. There's no carbon in it. So basically it's a brand new generator, but it's all old. It's all original, but the inside of it's all brand new, so it'll work great for a long time. I'd rather rebuild a generator than put a reproduction one on, because the reproduction one, sometimes the orifice in the top is too big, so you get too much fuel, and they're just not that good. So I always try to rebuild them when I can, because it's pretty easy to do also. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this little pricker lever, or pricker, and put it up through there. You got to be real careful not to bend that little wire. So on the eccentric block right here, there is a hole in the top of it, and this little J hook that's on the bottom of that, see if you can see it there, that little hook goes into the hole. I've been through this on some previous videos, but I'm doing it again. And then it slides down on there, and we'll tighten this. If some of you might remember, on one of my videos I did just this. I didn't tighten this with a wrench, and I thought it was tight. I took my lantern camping, and I was videotaping myself lighting the lantern for the very first time after I cleaned it up, and I got a big fireball because it was leaking here, and there was fire coming up around it. And so, lesson learned, I always tighten that up when I put the generator on, so I don't forget and I don't have that issue in the future. So it doesn't take much. It's got to snug it up. There you go. So it doesn't, it's not going to leak. And then we'll turn the pricker lever to make sure everything moves freely in there. There is no binding. There's no nothing. Okay, so there's that. So now the generator is installed. Then on top of the little stud right here, you put a washer. Okay, so that when you set the frame down. Oh, before I do that, before I forget, so we have to put the burner up in here. Okay, up inside of here, it has this burner. It's just this piece right here. It's a little brass tube. It's got a screen on there to keep any bugs from getting in there or anything, or to just, I think it diffuses the gas also, but that has to go up in here, and it doesn't have to be real tight. You can put it up in there and just finger tighten it. You don't have to make it real tight. So we'll thread that up in there. So for those of you that rebuild lanterns, one of the things that you have to watch out for is mud dauber nests. Mud daubers like to get in the fuel air tubes of these, which is these holes here. They like to get up in there and build mud dauber nests in these tubes. And if they do that, then you're not going to get the proper amount of air. So a lot of people will, their lantern won't light, won't burn bright, it'll flame up, it just burns weird, it doesn't do what it's supposed to do. And most of the time it is because there's a spider in here, spider nest, or a mud dauber or something, and it can be anywhere in any of these tubes up in here. So if a spider crawls up in there and decides this is where he's going to make his nest, it's going to mess up your fuel air mixture, so then you have to clean that out. So what I use is, I have these little brushes. I bought this little brush pack, and it's just this one here, and I just run them up through there and pull anything out. And there was actually a little spider nest in this one, because right before I started filming, I was double checking everything, and I did that, and there was a spider nest in there. But that's how I do it. I just clean it out with that. So that's it. So I put that washer on there. If you look in the bottom here, there's 2 holes. So the generator is going to go through this hole, and that hole is in the middle. So we're just going to take this and set it down on here, put the generator through there. We're going to go, we've got to line up the generator. There's a hole up here. You got to line the generator up with that so it sets just like that. So then you take the frame rest nut right here. We're going to put it on, tighten it down. Okay, so there's that. So the globe that I have for this lantern is not an original. Okay, this one is what's called a red letter globe. And if you can look up through there, you see the red letters. I know there's lots of reflection from my ring light around my camera, but you see the red lettering right there. And that is not an original. This is a replacement. I guess the original one broke. I can show you an original. I should have already had it out here. I'll just use this one. No, that's a straight line. The original one on this lantern I don't have one handy here. Oh, here's one. This one's broken. Oh, sorry, I know I'm just stepping off screen and all that stuff, and I want to show you. This is one that I have yet to start tearing into. But if you look at that one, you see how it's got a green sunrise logo on there. You see that? That is the original globe that came on this lantern, and I don't have one for it. I think I have one on one that I got in my display out in my basement, but I don't have one back here to show you. But that is the same one. That one's real dirty. I just haven't gotten into that lantern yet. So I am going to just use this red letter globe because it works just fine. It's just a replacement. It's not original. So red letter globe goes on like that. Then here is the vent, right? The ventilator, they call it. And I cleaned it. I ran this just today. I ran it through my ultrasonic cleaner just to make sure I get all the dirt and soot and stuff off it. So then that fits over the top. And here is the vent nut, and I've just steel wooled it to make it clean and fresh. And that screws right onto the top. And what have I told you in my past videos? Don't ever tighten these super, super tight, because when the heat expands this, it'll pop your porcelain on top. So always make sure it's a little loose. And last but not least, we have the bail. Make sure I'm all lined up there. There it is. So we'll put the bail there. I don't want you going in there. There it is. Okay, so there is a 1946 Coleman 242 lantern that is ready to light. I have to put a mantle on it and then burn the mantle in. I have to put some fuel in it, and then we're ready to go. So let me pump it up real fast, and let's see if it holds pressure, and let's see if I open the valve, we can hear some hissing coming out of there of just the air. We'll pump it up. Okay, so let me open it up and we'll see if we hear it. Sure do. I can shut it off with the pricker level. There's nothing, or lever. There's nothing there. Let me just hold this up here. Maybe you can hear it better with the mic. So right now there's nothing. I'll turn the pricker lever down. You guys can hear that. So it's holding pressure. The valve works. Let's shut the valve off and see if it shuts off the pressure. There it is. There's nothing. We'll open this up. And there you go. So like I said, this lantern is ready to go, and I don't know what it is about it. I know it's just a plain looking green lantern, but I like it. I like the patina on it. I like the character that it has. All right, so I'm going to take this outside now and burn a mantle in on it, because my wife doesn't like it when I do it in the house because it kind of smells. So I'll see you in just a second. All right, well, I'm out here in my backyard now, and we're going to put a new mantle on this lantern I just rebuilt, and we're going to burn it in. I'll show you how we do that. Some guys say you don't have to burn them in. They just light them with them not burnt in, but Coleman recommends you burn them in, and so that's what I do. So first thing we're going to do is we got to take the ventilator off and the glass out so we can tie a new mantle on. So we'll take the bail off, we'll undo the vent, like that. Take the glass off. Okay, so the mantle gets tied around the burner right up here, right above that lip is where you tie it. And I'm using an older mantle just because I had a pack that I had opened up, and there's 2 in a pack, and there's 1 left in here, so I'm going to use this one off. And this one is old. It doesn't have a barcode on the package, so it's older. And if you look, I don't know if you can see that on there, it says 89 cents for a pack of mantles. Well, now you go to the store and you buy them, and they are $4.99 for 2 mantles. So the prices have definitely gone up over the years, that's for sure. So there you go. That's what the mantle looks like when you take it out. It's silk, I do believe, or rayon or something like that. And it's got 2 little strings at the top. And you just put it around the burner like this. Okay. And then I grab the 2 little strings, and I'm just going to pull them till it tightens up around there. You don't want to pull it too tight because you don't want to break anything, but that kind of tightens it up. And I just tie it in a double overhand knot. You don't have to get nothing fancy. There's 1. I'll pull it tight around the burner. Make sure the string is in that little groove between the 2 lips on the burner. Okay, and then I'm just going to tie another overhand knot in there. If you're a Boy Scout, it's like a square knot. Pretty simple. So it looks just like that after you tie it on there, okay? So one thing you have to do is these little pieces of string, you have to trim them off. They tell you not to leave those on there. So I'm going to trim those off. And I just got a nice little pair of scissors here. And just trim it up close. Doesn't have to be too tight, but you want to leave maybe 1/8 of an inch of stuff on there. So I trim those off. So that's ready to go. Now, before I do it, after I burn this, you can't touch this mantle. So I'm going to straighten out the little pleats just so they're more even and they're not all on one side. I don't know if it makes a whole lot of difference on it, but I'm kind of weird about that kind of stuff. So I want it to look just about like that. See how the pleats are kind of even around there? Nothing's bunched up anywhere. Oh, I got a little bit of bunch up over here. So once you burn this, it turns it into ash. So if you touch it, it's just going to disintegrate. It's very fragile after this. So I'm going to get it caught on fire with the lighter here, and we're just going to let it burn. You start to light it at the bottom. It's going to make a lot of smoke. I just light it right along the bottom. And if you look, it is burning up, right? It's just going to turn into ash. And after it's all burnt up like that, we'll let it go until it turns white. Like you can see on there, there's still some black. You want it to be white. So we're just going to let it go. Okay. It's still going. It's still smoking. So we'll let it burn until it's not smoking anymore. I'm going to put it all back together while it's doing that. Okay, so actually, you know, with this kind of lantern, it's got little slots in the side, so you can put the bail on first, so you're not trying to find the hole. I know that all the time, but I'm just always in the habit of putting the vent on first, that I put the other thing on second. So we're just going to put the bail on, and then we'll put the vent on, so I can find the holes easier, just like that. All right, I'll put it down, and that's just going to sit right over it like that, and we'll screw that down on there, not too tight. Okay, and that's how you burn a mantle in, and it's ready to go. So now I just got to fuel it up, and then we'll light it. But I'm going to take it back downstairs because that's where my funnels are, and that's where my fuel is, so that's where we'll fuel it up. I'm going to let this keep burning until I don't see any more smoke, and when the smoke stops, I'll take it inside so it doesn't make my house smell. So anyway, we'll be back momentarily. All right, well, I'm back down in my shop, and now I'm ready to fuel this lantern up. If you're going to fuel your lanterns inside your house, be very, very, very careful. It's easy to spill the fuel. I've spilled it myself. So make sure you don't have anything combustible around. Like I don't do it right by my water heater or anything like that. I'm in my shop. It's pretty closed in here. I have fire extinguishers in here, so it's ready to go. Just be careful if you're ever going to fuel your lantern in your house. I don't recommend you to do it. I probably shouldn't do it, but I do. Anyway, with that being said, I'm going to show you how to fuel up your lantern. So I'm going to turn it so that you can see the fuel cap. Take my fuel cap off. And you need a funnel. And I always put my funnel down in this when I'm done in case there's any fuel that's going to drip out of it. But this is a Coleman funnel. It's an older one. It's a Coleman number 0 filter funnel. It's got a filter in it, so if there's anything in the fuel, it gets caught in that and the fuel still goes through it. So if you look, it's got a kind of a like a little step. So on the 242s have a smaller opening, so that's what this fits in. And in the 220s and most other lanterns, this little higher or wider part fits down in that. So it sets down in there pretty good, just like that, right? And then I'm going to use some good old Coleman fuel. This is old. If I'm ever at a garage sale or an estate sale or a flea market or anything, and somebody's got a can of Coleman fuel, I buy it, whether it's half full, quarter full, whatever it is, because it doesn't go bad. And if you buy this stuff new, it's like $14 a gallon. So I always buy it because it's cheaper when you get it in them places. So I got a bunch of half a cans. I've consolidated a few, but yeah, I've got a bunch of old cans. I don't hardly ever buy any new. So anyway, the way I'm going to do it is I put my spout on the top. This can's probably maybe this full, and I'm just going to pour some down in it. Let me set this down in here so I get a little better angle to pour. So I'm not going to fill it full. I'm just going to pour it like this. You can see it coming out. It's going in there. I'm going to count to maybe 8 or 10. 7, 8, 9, 10. And I'm going to say that is enough for what I'm going to do here. If I'm out camping, I'll fill it up. Excuse me, I'm going to sit down so you can see me. I will fill it up all the way when I go camping, but this is just to give it a test fire here to make sure everything's going to work. And that'll probably burn for hours with what I put in there. So we'll let that sit for a second like I did there. Then I'm just going to pull it up and shake it off, make sure it's not going to drip off of there. I'll put it down into the little bucket, so if there's any fuel, it drips down in there. I'm going to put my fuel cap on all the way, as tight as it'll go. So everything seals. All right, so that's that. I want to see something. I bought this different kind of lighter, so I don't have to carry around one of them great big stick lighters. It looks like this. So, and hopefully it'll fit up through this hole, right? Oh, yep, sure does. Look at that, perfect. So I saw a guy use these. I'm like, man, that is really cool. And I saw these at a gas station, so I bought a 2-pack. So this is a perfect lantern, or perfect for lighting your lantern. So anyway, so here we go. I'm going to pump it up. Give it about maybe 30 pumps. Okay. So I want to make sure your pricker lever, I always say level. I don't know why. It's hard for me to say. When it's pointed down like this, that means that the rod or the pricker in there is down is up. No, up is up. I'm sorry, down is down. So then down is burn, up is to put the pricker up through there and it won't burn that way. So we'll leave it down. So when you first crack this open, you're going to wait. You're going to hear a hiss, but you're going to wait until you hear a gurgle. Once you hear that gurgle, then it is ready to light. So we're going to open this up about a quarter of a turn. Okay, and I hear it. Let's wait till we hear that gurgle. There it is. And there it fires right up. Now we'll get a little fireball to start with. Give it a second until it heats up. Heats that generator up. And there we go. Hear that? Now, once it burns bright like that, we're going to open it up all the way, they say, because these are not adjustable, like it's either on or off. So it's going to make it all the way open like that. Now we're going to give it some more pumps to pump it up so we got good pressure. There you go. That is a 90-year-old lantern, 1934, I think is what I said. Yeah, 34. No, 44. So 80-year-old lantern, excuse me. So 80-year-old lantern, burning bright, probably hasn't burned in quite a while. It looked like it was in pretty rough shape when I got it. But that's probably good for another 80 years, I bet, before it has to be restored again. I don't know why, but I really, really enjoy these 242s. I just think they're really neat lanterns. So anyway, This is a runner. I will be taking this with me every time I go camping. This will be my 242 that I burn. All the ones back there, the ones that I've finished restoring, those are just shelf queens. I might light them every now and then in my backyard, but I'm not going to take them camping, because if this one, if I drop it and the glass breaks or something, or it gets knocked off wherever it's sitting and the glass breaks, I'm not that worried about it because it's a replacement glass. I can get another one and we'll be fine. Most of the other ones I have the correct glass for the period, so like they have that sunrise globe. Some of them are straight letter globes. I don't want those to break because those are hard to come by. So anyway, this is going to be going camping with me this weekend. I'll probably make a video and show it burning at night. We'll see how bright it gets, but it looks like it's pretty bright to me. All right, I know this was a long video, and this is my second one in quite some time. I'm hopefully going to be posting some more soon, so I'll keep going, and keep posting them if you guys keep watching. If you like my content, don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel, Tinkering with B-Hav. And it has a dash in it, Tinkering with B-Hav. If you don't put the dash in there, it doesn't come up. I should not have put the dash in there when I made the name, but too late now. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. I really, really appreciate it. This is something I enjoy doing, and if you enjoy watching, I'll keep making videos. This is Tinkering with B-Hav, and I'm B-Hav. Thanks for watching.